There's a wonderful saying that something was so obvious that it was hard to see. The phrase is, the elephant in the living room. My book, Unplugged from the Matrix, talks about how a kernel of false programming underlies the entire matrix. That kernel is the idea of separation, which generates a lot of other sets of programs that are based upon that basic false idea, such as abandonment, fear, survival-based reality, jealousy, war, hatred. All of those things are based upon the single kernel, which a kernel is a base level of programming upon which all the other programs are based. And so it's like an upside-down pyramid balanced upon a single grain of sand. And that grain of sand is this idea of separation. You can only have separation in a dualistic world. So this dualistic world, or this matrix, which is a laboratory for experience, allowed oneness to experience otherness. One of the things that has come out in recent years has been this Secret, the Law of Attraction. The movie The Secret was based upon this idea. And if you follow the works of Abraham, Esther Hicks, who channels the collective energy called Abraham, you'll see she's always talking about how the law of attraction works. Basically, all the law of attraction is like attracts like. But really what it means is that a vibrational reality can only have elements within it that match the vibrational reality of all the other elements. So it's basically systems-based kind of thinking, or reality constructs. It's a hologram where all parts are actually equal. But the one thing that most people don't talk about in the law of attraction is this concept of the higher self. And you can think of the higher self as kind of like being the mothership that has sent out a scout ship, what we think of as ourselves, into this dense plane of existence called Earth, or 3D reality, to experience a really wild ride of duality and separatist thinking. And what most of us have done is that we forgot that we came from anywhere else. I'm not saying the higher self is God, not at all. I'm saying the higher self is you, but a vibrational reality that cannot exist in this duality. However, as scout ships, what we can do is we can bring in some of the vibration of that higher self. We can bring more of it in than has ever been here before. I've talked about how to do this, the idea of melting the frozen energy of the matrix through the experience and projection of love. And if you look at water, you'd see that the ice is a lower state of vibration than water is, and water is a lower state of vibration than steam. But another metaphor I came up with recently, which I thought really kind of displayed what I meant, was an iceberg. And we can think of the self, the self-conscious, I'm just going to say the self, the little self, the scout, as being the tip of the iceberg. But this tip of the iceberg, the ego self, believes that that's all there is to the iceberg, and somehow believes that it can direct the direction of the iceberg. Well, as we all know, an iceberg is nearly impossible to redirect. It's on its own path. The majority of the iceberg is below the surface, and that's what I'm going to call the higher self. The belief that the ego has that it can direct the iceberg is totally erroneous. And as long as it tries to do that, it's going to pile up a lot of other beliefs and a lot of emotions around its experience, all the while being unaware because it's locked and trapped in the experience of duality. What the ego must do, what we all must do, is surrender to the intent of the higher self. We cannot do that as long as we think we're in charge. And the higher the mission is that you have contracted to in your journey on this earth, let's just say you have a command that was given to you by the mothership when you exited to go to the planet, and that command overrides everything else. It overrides every desire you've ever had. It overrides even what you would think as would enhance your survival or ensure it. And the reason why is because you're still thinking survival based. And the only way to exit the matrix is to exit that kind of thinking, the kernel, the false programming. As long as you are stuck in the emotional morass of survival based thinking, you're going to be stuck in the vibrational reality that supports the matrix. And your vibration will be supporting the matrix. The only way to exit the matrix is to transcend dualistic thinking and to perceive the perfection underlying everything. So as long as you think that there's anything wrong in the world, or anything wrong with what's out there, or even anything wrong with what's in here, inside you, you are supporting the matrix. And you will never ever be able to leave it. I know people that are in enormous amounts of pain, emotional pain, at this time. And I believe that the pain, in fact, I know the pain because I've experienced it myself, is the need to shed these beliefs and these emotions, what I call the lower 2/3 on the emotional scale, everything from boredom down. And the inner self, like a butterfly, is longing to be free of the cocoon. And yet it cannot be free of that cocoon as long as it's still attached to it. Accepting the dictates of the higher self means to be stepping into trust. And trust is something like faith that cannot be arrived at through analysis, through understanding, through the mind in any way. And trust and faith are not emotional. The only way you can get to trust, the only way you can get to faith, is through the feeling-based reality. Feelings, as opposed to emotions, are clear. They are an inner knowing beyond all beliefs and beyond all emotions. To shed these lower emotions feels wonderful, but it requires discipline, a great deal of awareness. But that is what a higher level awareness requires. You can no longer be a victim. You can no longer be unconscious. If you're going to ascend to a higher level awareness, you have to be uber conscious, uber aware. That does not mean guilty or judgmental. It only means aware. Aware, perfectly balanced, poised, like an eye in the middle of a storm. Nothing can shake you because all you see is perfection everywhere. You intend along with your higher self. You are aligned with your body, your mind, your ego, your emotions. Everything is aligned with the intent of your higher self. And thus you break free. Namaste.